Hello, everyone. This is Ben Dunn, founder of Antarctic Press, a comic book publishing company founded in 1985, and the creator of such comics as Ninja High School, Warrior Nun, Mighty Tiny, Tomorrow Girl, Penguina, and the Marvel Mangaverse, among a host of any other comic books, that I've done over the last, 40 some odd years. So the other day, I was listening to a fellow podcaster, Larry Higgins, who's got a Niobe channel. He's also a contributor and creator of the Niobe comic, which is published by Antarctic Press. Full disclosure, he's also getting to be one of my good buds. Getting to know him better. I've never met him in person. I would like to. I've been finding out he can be a rather a strong-willed individual. So I was listening to his podcast the other day, and he was talking about a cease and desist letter that apparently, Mandy and Mike Wheeler got from Brian Pulido concerning a parody, a quote parody comic they were doing called Star Whores, that had a character looked very similar to Brian Pulido's Lady Death. Now, I don't know the Wheelers that well, to be honest. I've heard of them. I've heard of their reputation in the comic industry, and I've had some more or less indirect contacts with them, so I don't have an opinion of them either way. They're apparently YouTubers also, and they have quite a following on their YouTube channel, which, good for them. I have known Brian Pulido for a very long time. He is a very nice individual, very stalwart. He's been in the business for many, many decades. He was there in the early part of Eternity Comics, where I was working also at the time. So, I have history with Brian Pulido. He is a very upstanding, but he's also a very passionate individual, and he is very protective of his IP, especially Lady Death. So anyway, they were talking about parody laws, cease and desist, the behavior of both parties, and it was, I will tell you that it fascinated me to hear the opinions of the panel that was on Larry's channel. I was listening to it, and I was gleaning quite a few things off it, but I sort of regretted I didn't get on, because I could tell you something about cease and desist, because over the last almost 40 years, Antarctic Press has its share of them. I will tell you that much. Both with the company and outside the company. My first experience with cease and desist was with Archie Comics, believe it or not. I had done a parody of Archie in the pages of Ninja High School, and it was like a preview to a story I was going to do. It's the infamous Pflugerville story, and we had I did a preview of some of the characters, and then when they solicited the cover, I did a parody of issue 1 with the quote unquote Pflugerville characters, and Archie sent a cease and desist saying that, oh yeah, we let you get away with it once, we're not going to let you get away with it again. So Eternity Comics had me made change the cover, and I did it, because you have to pick your battles carefully. And this is the thing that you have to understand. Yes, it may be true, and I will tell you up front, I'm not a legal expert, but I have had dealings with legal experts. And I have dealings with lawyers, and I've had dealings with companies that have sent us cease and desist letters. And, I'll cite you for some examples. And our experiences with that. And it's, here's some advice to those out there who are considering, doing quote unquote parodies of other people's characters. It's a slippery slope, believe me. I, do it because I just feel compelled to do it. I just want to have fun. I feel like the characters that I'm parodying are different enough that I can get away with it. But sometimes it does hit close to home, and we do get cease and desist letters. When they feel like their trademark or not trademark or copyrights are being infringed upon. And you know what? They have every right to do that. And the thing about it, in this country, you could sue anybody for anything. And the thing is that whether you win is the question. Now, there are a few things I did listen to that I think I do agree with. Is that whenever, you feel like there's going to be pending litigation of any type, it's best to keep your mouth shut. Brian is being very, very smart. He's been around the block a few times, so he knows the ins and outs of dealing with the legal system. And the last thing you want to do is give the other side any ammunition. So whenever you start the process of getting into the legal system, the first thing a lawyer will tell you is to shut up. Don't say a word. I don't know the Wheelers, that well. Apparently they are very strong-willed individuals also as well. It would seem to me that the tack they're taking is probably pretty unwise. They should not be letting, things out there because it can and will be used against you. Anything you say is true, absolutely. I was touching some examples, for instance. We did a parody, comic called Diary of a Zombie Kid. It was a very cute, we thought parody version of Diary of a Wimpy Kid, except it was a zombie. We thought that was different enough that it would distinguish itself from the other book. And at first we got away with it. We were able to put out at least one volume. However, after we had, really good success with it, we unwisely decided to do a second one. And I think that's where things got out of hand. Usually you can get away with it once. For the most part, if you do a parody of something very, very popular or famous or well known, you can probably get away with it the first time. I'm not going to say it's guaranteed. Like I said, people can sue you for anything. Public figures are fair game. You can make fun of public figures. They really can't do much about it. It's only when you get into areas of defamation, or actually use their real name, or get into territory that they feel will besmirch or damage their name. That's where you get into dangerous territory. It's one thing to make fun of, somebody like Arnold Schwarzenegger or any famous celebrity, and just sort of make fun of them. It's another thing if you call something egregious or heinous, that damages their character. It's totally a different thing. So I would avoid at all costs, attacking their personal well-being. You can make fun of them as actors, and politicians are fair game as well. You can make fun of all the politicians you want, because they really can't do much of anything, because they are public figures, and they're voted. And politicians, and no one gives a crap about politicians anyway. You make fun of them all day long if you want to. Political cartoonists do it all the time. They make fun of politicians, and politicians really can't do much about it. They can grouse or be upset about it, but not much they can do about it. However, intellectual property, different matter altogether. Like I say, with the Diary of a Zombie Kid, we got a cease and desist from the creator, the publisher of Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Said, hey, we think that you're encroaching, on our territory, and we're sending you a cease and desist. And they actually threatened legal action. So we had to relent because they had more money, and that's really the key factor. Because even if they were to lose, they could bankrupt you, and you would, even though if you might win, you would have no money left. This is a strategy a lot of big, huge corporations employ. They will do lawsuits, in order to bankrupt you. You may win, but you won't have any money. And being the big corporation one, it's a drop in the bucket to them. They don't care. Their whole idea is to teach you a lesson, not more or less win, but to teach you a lesson. If they win, that's a cherry on top. But chances are they just want to outspend you. And this is where I think the Wheelers may have miscalculated, because Brian is I can't get really into the mindset of him. But if I don't know what his financial situation is. My understanding is he does quite well for himself. And he does have, I can't say for sure, and I can't say for a fact, that who knows? Maybe the Wheelers have more money than he does. I don't know. I don't know. It just depends on who has the, who has the willpower to continue with this. Another example, for instance, is this recent Blue Sonya, Red Sonya thing. I knew I was trading into dangerous territory, but I figure I made the 5 changes usually required, on a parody character. Usually, the rule of 5 is what most people adhere to. You make 5 enough distinct changes, then you can usually pretty much get away with it. People have told me that if I were to fight it, I probably would have won. But you know what? It wasn't worth it. I knew that I was making a parody of Red Zone. I knew that, but I thought I made enough changes to it that I could get away with it, and I took a chance. I rolled the dice, and it came up Snake Eyes. I could have fought it, but you know what? It just wasn't worth it. So I decided, okay, fine, whatever. So I just nipped it in the bud, didn't bother with it. I just made the changes, changed the name, made sure that it was distinct enough that no one would ever be confused between my new version of the character named Kendra, which hopefully will be launching pretty soon on Kickstarter, and Red Sonya, and that was the end of it. They didn't have to go pursue it any further, so I think they were satisfied. They could come back and say no, it's not enough changes, but I don't think they will, because I think I made enough distinct changes that they really can't really come back to me on that. Like I said, they could, but I don't think they want to waste resources and time and effort to pursue something that obviously I was willing to concede. So that like I said, you pick your battles carefully. You pick your battles carefully and decide with that. Now, if I ever gotten to the point where I had, money to outspend them, I probably would have fought it. But in this particular case, it was a fool's errand to try to attempt to do it. So I changed my tact and decided that I just create an all new character, and maybe it'll turn out to be even more popular than Red Sonya. Who knows? They may have inadvertently created a monster that they no longer have any control over. One can hope. At least that's my goal, is to try to make it more popular than their character. Hopefully, with your support. But so anyway, back to the subject at hand. And also, I was part of the Richard C. Meyer, Mark Wade case. I was part of that as well. So, it's not unusual for litigation to happen all the time in comics. It's just part and course life itself. So, one of the things I wanted to discuss is that if they were to pursue legal action, if Brian were to pursue legal action, vice versa, it doesn't immediately go to trial. There's steps that have to be taken. Lawyers they talk to each other. They represent each party. It's an antagonistic, system. You sit down with both parties or both attorneys, depending on whether it also depends on where the trial is going to take place. Now, I don't know where Brian is located, but he's filed that action in the state he's in. I don't know where the Wheelers are located. So they would have to travel to the state that Brian Polito filed the action against them. So they would have to spend money to go out there and meet with Brian Polito's legal team. So that is already a strike against them. Now, they say they'll countersue, so Brian would have to probably do the same thing. You have to go there and do that. So the first thing that happens usually is that the lawyers talk to each other and say, look, if they can settle out of court, that's the best outcome for both parties. Actually, the best outcome of both parties for the aggrieved party to be satisfied, with the party that is being pursued, because this way, very little is spent, and it's done, it's over. Both parties are satisfied. Well, at least one party is satisfied, but it won't cost the other party, huge financials. Now, my understanding, and I could be wrong, is that the Wheelers are very passionate about their stand, and they feel like this is something much bigger than themselves. I think that fundamentally they need to be careful what they say, and like I said before, the best tack to take is just say nothing at all. Don't give them any ammunition, because they will use that against you. And I know, because the next step is that if they can't settle, okay, let's say they meet and they both sides are adamant, about their position, they won't budge on either side. So the next thing that happens is that you go into discovery. Okay, that's the next step. Usually discovery is when both sides presents evidence, about their case, and both sides look it over, and then they present each side, with what they have. It's like they'll say, oh, the Wheeler said this, that, and the other. We have this, that, and the other. We have this phone records. We have this, texts and emails, and they will dig through all your phone records. They will dig through all your emails, all your cards, and they will find them. Okay, you can't just simply delete them and hope it goes away. No, they will find them. And they will be brought up. And the lawyers will say, well, what did you mean when you said this? Because lawyers are like that. They are very nitpicky. A good lawyer will do deep dives. They'll deep dive in your past. They'll find every little nuance that they can find. Like, you have a police record. Have you done this before? What was your business? How do you do your business? Is your accounting okay? I mean, you maybe did some shady things in the past. They will bring up every single negative thing. Both sides will bring up every single negative thing they can dig up. And that's what discovery is all about. Should both sides decide to go to actual trial, then probably the next step is to set a trial date. Find a judge, set a trial date, and they'll go to court. And then they'll argue their case in front of either a judge or a jury. I'm not sure how it goes exactly. Like I said, I'm not a legal expert. But usually it's one or the other. And that's and then you toss the coin and see who has the better argument, and then you let either the judge or the jury decide, and then that's the outcome. Things like this could take years. Okay, I don't know. It costs vast amounts of money, because lawyers are not free. They will not. In every single day that you have to hire a lawyer is costing each side money. I'm sure Brian doesn't want to spend the money either. I'm pretty sure he just wants to have an amicable, settlement of his of what he could perceive as a attack or a infringement on his intellectual property, and he just wants it to stop. But at the same time, I'm sure the Wheelers must feel the same way, that they have every right. They feel like perhaps maybe they're fighting something bigger, that they have every right to do what they're doing, and that, Brian's just a big bully, just trying to But no, Brian's protecting his intellectual property. Whether he's right or wrong, not for me to determine. It's for the courts to determine. Because he made the move to try to get to to have corrected what he perceives as an attack on his intellectual property. So it is part and parcel of the legal system that you are allowed to use that to settle disputes. Whether the outcome is what you expect depends on how the argument that you make in the court. And what evidence you have. In the old days, back in the old days, before we had a really before we decided not to do that anymore, people used to settle their disputes with duels. Then it was a good, old-fashioned way of settling it, and then usually the outcome meant that either someone got egregiously harmed or died. No one wants to die, so it's just we got rid of that pretty quickly. But it settled the matter pretty quickly. It was just one and done. Honor has been satisfied, as they say. So it will remain to be seen how exactly this all plays out. It seems like both sides are adamant in their positioning. So it will be quite interesting to see how things play out. Because quite frankly, anytime you involve the legal system, that's serious stuff. You don't play around with that. So you have to, if you ever get a cease and desist, and that you maybe just got caught, can't get away with it, or you can't afford it. Of course, everyone's different. Like I said, everyone's different. You may want to say, "Oh, I have every right to do this," but and I'm going to fight it all the way to it. But you may not realize just how much you're getting into, because justice is supposed to be balanced and blind. It's supposed to be fair. Hate to break it to you that it's not that way. It can be rigged. We like to believe that we can trust the legal system, that we'll be treated fairly, but unfortunately, the reality of it is that no, it can be rigged. It can be the scales can be tilted to one side or the other. There are plenty of examples of that every day. And we like to think that our justice system is fair, because if we don't think it's fair, then how can we trust that we're going to get a fair shake in the system? And when people in the justice system start acting, misbehaving, lying, cheating, then that erodes our trust in the system. And what do we have but trust? Trust is probably the most important thing that keeps a society together. Without it, it breaks down. People start becoming paranoid, and then we don't believe in the system anymore. And then what happens then? It leads to, violence. That's just how it goes. If you don't feel like you're getting a fair shake in the justice system, then what recourse do you have? It's just unfortunate part of our everyday lives nowadays, and it's just sad. It's very sad to see that. So I will definitely follow this because it does affect comic books. And like I said, having experienced it, quite. I'll give you another example. This is a very good one, but a lot of people don't know this. But when Tomorrow Man was created, I created the character way back in like 1988, and DC sent us a cease and desist, in like the early 90s, and we were curious as to what the heck are they sending a cease and desist for. Apparently, they were coming out with a comic book called Tomorrow Stories, and they thought that Tomorrow Man was going to interfere, would be confused with their new Tomorrow Stories comic book. So they actually sent us a cease and desist. Now we had our lawyers and their lawyers meet up, and we went through discovery, and we found out no, there's nothing here. So the you know the cease and desist was dropped. Both sides were satisfied. I was continued to use Tomorrow Man, which led to Tomorrow Girl, which is a really one of my most popular characters nowadays, and which I'm allowing people now to do an open license. So I'll talk about some of that maybe later on down the line. But anyway, I just wanted to give you my take on this whole situation. I really don't have much an opinion as far as whose side I'm on, because quite frankly, I don't know the full evidence. All I know is what I've been shown. So it could be that both sides have evidence that I'm not aware of, and and they'll probably bring that out. Should it go beyond the cease and desist stage and get into discovery or into a full blown trial? So, I'm keeping an eye on it just because I think it's rather interesting, and I will see how it plays out. So. Anyway, if you find this topic interesting, please like and subscribe. And I leave you with these words to do what you will, but harm no one. And until next time, this has been Dunn signing off.